all the entrepreneurs and business owners listening today, consider this. Are you relying solely on basic security measures, or are you engaging with cybersecurity experts to safeguard your business?
Making sure that there is a tool on them that you can remotely locate and destroy them, and it actually works. Make sure you're backing them up.
It's a crucial reminder for all of us small business owners. Think about your current cybersecurity measures. Are they sufficient? What steps you take today to better prepare for potential cyber challenges?
There's 3 pillars of protection. There's policy that you should have in your company to say, here's how we conduct ourselves on computers. Here's how we protect our information. There's training that we give our staff.
Many of you use cloud services on daily basis. But how often do you check if your provider meets the highest security standards? Take this moment to think about the critical data you have stored in the cloud. Today's episode zeroes in on a critical aspect of modern business practice, cybersecurity. As our dependency on digital solutions grows, so does the importance of safeguarding our digital assets. Our guest today is Larry Keating, president of NPC. Through NPC, Larry invented and brought his industry's first secure managed endpoint computing solutions to the market. A technology entrepreneur, an author, and a speaker, he has served in the various roles for government and industry, advising on technology and data security. Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, Larry. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, SK. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming to our show. Larry, with your extensive track record in advanced cybersecurity measures and, being an entrepreneur, I would like to start first by, by knowing your story. Can you share, how you got started and what was your vision when you got started?
Well, that's a long story from a long time ago. It's like the beginning of Star Wars. I was 27 years old, and I had just finished working for a large U.S. data communications company and then a small microcomputer distributor, and I founded my own company in 1987 called Keating Technologies. And it's still operating today. It's brought billions of dollars in technology to Canadians and providing national sales, marketing, and technical services. And then in 2008, as I had been doing a fair bit of government advisory work, I saw this kind of intersection that was happening where we were more and more putting incredible amounts of information on our computers, and cyber threat was starting to emerge. Privacy regulations were starting to form in much more meaningful ways. And I thought it'd be very difficult for small businesses to deal with those threats. So I founded a company called NPC, and we specialize now in providing secure computing for small business. So I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a technology architect, and I do a fair bit of speaking and some writing on the subject.
And Larry, I can see that you invented and brought the industry's first secure managed endpoint computer solution. What was the motivation behind that?
Well, really the motivation was that the complexity of security is such that to really have a very strong defensive posture, to have a device that is actually strong enough to meet the challenge, it was going to take specialization. That's kind of the future of technology buying. Everything is moving to as-a-service modeling. Whereas in the past, we would buy all the parts and pieces, and each organization would have those put together. And, IT would do the best job they could with the resources they had, either local IT providers or internal IT, to make that work as good as it could work. The cyber threat kind of evolved to a place I was looking at it, and I thought, that model, as good as it served us in the past, is probably not going to meet the threat as well as it needs to. So my motivation was to put together a product that would be economical, highly secure, and available to all businesses. In our model, we can provide one of our solutions to a single person operation, and we also have thousands of clients now, and they some of them have hundreds and hundreds of our products at work. So that was kind of the idea. There's so much done at the very top end of business. Great organizations like, RBC and the federal government, they all have access to, incredible amounts of cyber protection, and they do a good job of putting it to work for the most part. Smaller organizations don't have that advantage. So I thought it would be beneficial to them and a good business to provide them a solution they could buy as a service, but meet a very high standard of security and performance too. Because performance in computing is very important. When you're trying to run a business on a computer and it doesn't behave, that's not a good day.
Yeah.
So we try to avoid those days as much as we possibly can, and I think NPC has done a terrific job doing that for its client base.
Okay. Now, moving forward, let's discuss the basics of cybersecurity. Like many small businesses owners, believe they can manage their cybersecurity needs on their own. So, what would you say, Larry, to small business owners who feels confident managing their own cybersecurity internally without professional help?
Well, I think those days are past. I think that in the past we could do that, and loading some antivirus, just making sure we're encrypted, having a good backup, doing some of the basics were enough. But, the cyber threat level and the sophistication of the attacks is such that no one can go it alone now. I was at a conference when I was founding NPC almost 15 years ago, and a young, very dynamic fellow from IBM was speaking, and brilliant individual. And he said at the time a phrase that I've often quoted, and he said, when it comes to cyber threat, no one should go it alone. I've modified that to say now that no one can go it alone.
Yes, that's the right way to say no one can go alone.
No one can. Yeah. So it's not possible for an organization to, on their own, even if they're 5 people, to think that they can sufficiently secure their computers on their own that is going to meet the challenge. We monitor and manage the entire planet for security threats, for all kinds of things, and we're adjusting on the fly. We have a 7/24 operation that makes sure that each individual computer is properly secured. That's not possible for a little company to do it on their own. But the good news is these as-a-service models make technology available to them, and we're not the only folks.
As well as affordable, right? As well as affordable for everyone.
As well as affordable. Yeah. That's got to be a key component
right.
to it, especially for small business, where we have to be incredibly cost sensitive. So, it's a complex matter, but the solutions are there. But for an individual to think they can do it on their own, those days are past.
Right. Following on that, Larry, can a local IT professional provide a sufficient level of security, or is specialized knowledge required?
Well, on occasion, I do come across IT professionals who have a very strong background in what we used to call data security. Now we call it cybersecurity because that just sounds cooler. Right. But the really smart IT professionals, they know how big this challenge is. The analogy I often like to give is your local IT professional is like your family doctor. Right. And if your family doctor found a heart ailment, you really wouldn't want them doing the heart surgery. You'd want to go to a heart surgeon. Right. And that's it. Cyber threat has become a specialty. So really smart IT professionals know that. They reach out to partners. We partner with them as an example. But I still do see some IT professionals, and they do a good job. They do their very best. But they're still trying to hold on to that whole piece of the pie with the customer per se. They're a little bit insecure about anybody else getting in with them and helping and doing work. I've actually modeled our business to be just like a product, so they don't feel as threatened. It's just like dropping a Cisco router into their client's office, and that's starting to work. But you really have to choose wisely when you're working with an IT professional to make sure that they haven't fooled themselves into believing that their level of expertise and the technology and tools they bring to bear, are correct for the job. It's endemic in our business. Our industry for the last 50 years has been about make a solution for the customer to fit their specific need. Now we're moving into the era of specialization and as a service provisioning of it. So IT professionals need to adapt to that and adopt those tools, and they need to be the orchestrator and architect of those solutions for their customers, no matter what their size. That's kind of their new role.
Right. Even today, Larry, more than 60% Canadian businesses are prone to cyber attack. And many small business owners, when it comes to cybersecurity, they have a perception that, cybersecurity might be a very big investment. What is your advice to those small business owners who think costing is a major hurdle for them to implement the cybersecurity measures?
Well, it's a great point, SK. We do come across business owners who basically they want to pay nothing for cybersecurity or for some kind of protection. I've had folks tell me, I've walked off the stage and spoken about our product, or I've been out in the field talking to clients, and they say, "Oh, your product should be free. It should be a download." And I say, "Well," I said, when the product is free, you're actually the product. So there has to be revenue coming from somewhere. But in short, cybersecurity is an investment in your business like any other measure of investment you may have. It's just forced its way to the, higher up the stack of what you need to invest in. But again, the good news is that there are some brilliant technologies, not just NPC. There are many brilliant security technologies that have become incredibly affordable. One of the things that I've observed over the years is Microsoft's 365. It's now called Microsoft 365, kind of upgraded from Office 365. And 25 years ago, if you wanted to take advantage of something called SharePoint, which is basically a server in the cloud. It's your little office server now, and it's hosted by Microsoft in their secure data centers. If you wanted to do SharePoint 25 years ago, you had to have a big budget, a big IT group. It was all done in-house. Now, a small business can sign up for something like SharePoint and exchange email for $25 a month. And if they get a good professional to set it up and run it, it's incredibly secure, it's incredibly efficient. So small businesses can invest in technology far more economically, but it is an investment. It's not zero.
Yeah, and it's not an expense. Many take is at an expense. It's an investment, as you rightly said.
It's an investment.
Right.
Interestingly, in as-a-service models like in ours, we provide computers for a monthly fee. We include the hardware, security, backup, etc., and you can fully expense that every month.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about capital costing it down and all the other forms of trying to save as much money as you can in that investment. So there's all kinds of good news around that.
Thank you so much, Larry, for sharing your perspective. I believe, emphasizing the need for expertise in today's complex cybersecurity environment is very, very essential. Now, moving on, let's starting to work on cybersecurity. For businesses just starting to think about cybersecurity, the first steps are very, very crucial. What is the first thing a business with minimal or no cybersecurity measures should do or start securing the operations?
Well, there's two ways to answer that question. I advise every new customer, everybody I come across who has a new business or an old one, to start with an assessment. Find a cybersecurity professional who understands the landscape, who understands the tools, who is sized right for your company, and have them do an assessment. That's the first most important thing, because there may be some things you're doing right. You may be in a business where some of the technologies somebody might want to sell you aren't required. They're overkill. So I would have a professional do an assessment. It's the responsibility of the business owner to really understand a little bit about this and to direct the organizations he works with to get him the right level of responses and the right level of tools. So the first thing I would recommend is an assessment. Now, if somebody doesn't do that, what are the actual technologies and the actual things they should do to make sure they're protected? Think of it as a bit of a battle. And the first thing in battle that a military professional would say is, establish a strong perimeter, protect the perimeter. So the endpoint computers, the phones you have, that's your perimeter. Make sure that those are as secured as they can be. And that includes making sure they're encrypted, that they have strong antivirus on them, making sure that there is a tool on them that you can remotely locate and destroy them, and it actually works. Make sure you're backing them up. Those are some of the basics of what I would put to work. But really, For any size of business today, I would bring in a professional. I would have them tell me, this is what the state of the art is that I need for my size of business, and how can I do that affordably? And there are professionals that will do that.
And that's really a great advice, Larry. Like starting simple but effectively can set the foundation for robust cybersecurity. Let's pause here to reflect on something critical Larry just mentioned about the complexity of modern cybersecurity. For all the entrepreneurs and business owners listening today, consider this. Are you relying solely on basic security measures, or are you engaging with cybersecurity experts to safeguard your business? This is a great time to evaluate how to strengthen your defenses and perhaps even consider a cybersecurity audit. Like moving on, let's discuss about cyber attacks, inevitably and be prepared for it. There's a common adage that in the realm of cybersecurity, it's not a matter of if, but when. Do you agree that every business will face some kind of cyber attack?
Well, you've raised a bit of an issue that is a bone to pick with me. Actually, the first time I heard that popularized was by the Secretary of State in the Obama administration, who said it. And it became, kind of a battle cry for a lot of cybersecurity companies to help motivate investment. And if that works, great, because people need to get protected. But, you got to break it down into two pieces. A cyber attack doesn't necessarily mean a cyber penetration. We're all being attacked all the time. Phishing emails, bots that are crawling the internet looking for computers that aren't properly secured or have weaknesses in them. So that's going on all the time. We're all subject to it. But it's not statistically true that everybody has a cyber event or a cyber incident. And there are many companies we work with that have never had an event. In fact, and this is a bit of a brag, no NPC client in 15 years has ever had a ransomware penetration on their device. They have lots of attacks, but there's never been a successful ransomware penetration. Now, I like to touch wood when I say that, and I don't want to attract.
You should really feel proud of it, right?
Oh, I'm very proud of it. And as the chief architect of the technology, I hate to say it this way, but sometimes it surprises even me. But those layers of technology, those layers of security help protect our clients. It doesn't mean it will never happen. I think the strategy around saying it's not a matter of if, but when, if that helps you stay prepared and on your toes, then I'm fine with it. But I don't want folks to lose hope that they can't protect themselves from these threats. I don't want them to give up and say, well, if it's inevitable, why would I invest anything? That's not the right attitude. The right attitude is that there are many companies who put in the proper controls. There's three pillars of protection. There's policy that you should have in your company to say, here's how we conduct ourselves on computers. Here's how we protect our information. There's training that we give our staff. And then there's the technology investment that we make. Those are kind of the three pillars of risk governance, I call them. And if we put all those to work, we become a hard target. We make ourselves much more difficult to be successfully penetrated. But again, everybody's being attacked.
Larry, as everyone knows, artificial intelligence is trending everywhere. A lot of tools, many businesses are using it. What are your thoughts when it comes to AI and the cyber security attacks using the AI tools?
Well, that's unfortunately just pouring gasoline on the fire. I mean, we're already seeing evidence of AI being used in improving the quality of phishing attacks. Current levels of generative AI are actually a great analytics engine for vast amounts of information. These cyber threat actors get vast amounts of information off of the botnets that they've deployed. AI is giving them greater ability to find, the computers and the businesses that are the most weak and the easiest targets, and new ways to penetrate them. But we have to fight AI with AI. Okay, so the tools that we use, and that's why you want to be with organizations that specialize in this, whether you're one or you're 1,000 people in a company. You want to make sure that you're bringing to bear a level of technology that's going to be a proper defense for this new level of threat. And I actually had the honor just a couple of weeks ago of speaking at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. on regulating AI.
Yeah.
And one of my comments was, yes, absolutely. And there's activity right around the world right now on regulating AI. But we cannot hamper innovation while we do it, because we have to enable those folks that do use AI to implement inside of cybersecurity protection tools, free reign and a wide berth to do that as aggressively as they can do to protect us. So it's a very complex matter. AI is not just gasoline on the fire. It's a very, complex expanding of that fire size. And we all have to kind of get our head around what can we do to up our game to meet the challenge.
We will be right back after this short break. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights from Larry on how you can protect your business from cyber threats.
You dreamt big. You made the leap. You and your "we're not stopping at small" business. Doesn't matter you've never done it before. You unlock those problems. You adapt to change. You learn to evolve. You're pioneers in challenging times, finding your own frontiers. Wherever you e-commerce, UPS is with you. So nothing is going to hold you back.
4 billion people check their email every day. That's 4 billion missed opportunities if your message doesn't make it. To reach your customer's inbox, you need a winning strategy. And Constant Contact delivers. Literally, over 97% deliverability. Elevate your email game with easy-to-use templates, writing assistants powered by AI, and in-depth metrics. Ensuring your email is flawless, delivered, and read. Constant Contact delivers. Give it a try.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, we're in the business of you.
We're here to help you plug in,
connect and recharge,
make an impression,
and meet with confidence.
With 19 brands built for business,
your business gets even more rewarding.
With an award-winning loyalty program at 6,000 IHG hotels and resorts worldwide.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we discussed the threats of cyber attacks and the importance of being prepared. Now, let's dive deeper into actionable steps and strategies that small businesses can implement to enhance their cybersecurity.
Right. And Larry, as you said, recently, May 16th, you were invited to speak at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., on the artificial intelligence. Can you share some key points with our audience about your experience in the conference?
Well, firstly, I was honored to do it. Our keynote address that opened the conference was the first CTO of the United States of America, Anish Chopra. Brilliant man, building an organization called Care Journey, which is putting AI to work in healthcare. They brought in to speak to public service financial investigators, what the new state of the art looks like, where the tools can come from, what we should do to control it, to govern it, to manage it within our own organizations. The most common thread, SK, that I saw through the conference was the incredible opportunity that AI offers humanity. That this is the biggest technological innovation in human history. It's bigger than the internet. And it's bigger because it compounds the power of things that we already do. And there was so much excitement and positivity about that. But at the same time, and I think that was wise, a concern about how powerful it is and how easily it can be exploited by the threat actors. When I spoke, one of the analogies I used was what happened when we first started dropping nuclear devices, on humanity. And obviously not a great thing, but it did end the Second World War. Almost immediately in 1946, the Atomic Energy Commission was formed. They started to lay down some rules and guidelines that was intended to control this incredible new power in a meaningful way. And not a single person has died in all that time from a nuclear device. And so that kind of worked. And nation states did behave. And we kind of did get that right. Now, my problem with AI is it's just it's a click and a login, and you have all that power. It's not like you need plutonium and all the mechanics of building a nuclear
Anyone
device.
can use it, right?
Anyone can use it, and we have to be careful about that. So really, at the end of the day, the conference was about balance. And it was about making sure that we don't hamper innovation, that we do recognize where we're at in technology and AI and how it's being put to work. What are some of the techniques that we can use to govern it? They're talking about traceable microchips when you're using neural net chips which are the processors that are most powerful in running AI. I'm not completely convinced that that's a practical notion because those are copyable. They can be exploited. But I don't lose faith in humanity and our ability to get on top of and around these things. I know it feels kind of shaky in the world today. We've got a lot of conflict globally. Do we need this right now to add fuel to that fire of all those conflicts and all that? I think AI in the end is going to be a positive. I think that it was going to take, we're going to have some growing pains along the way. But I think that if we keep the right attitude about it, if we know that it can benefit us already in medicine, as an example, we're seeing some breakthroughs and some improvement in process that are saving lives. This is something we need. Okay, let's not, douse that opportunity because we're a little bit afraid of what the long-term outcomes are. I don't disagree with the world leaders and the technology leaders who stepped up very early and said, this can be bigger and more scary than you think. I think they are also right. So we just have to work together, get some balance in it. I know I sound like a bit of an optimist, but I am.
Right. I like your approach.
Yeah. I'll bet on humanity.
Yeah. As you rightly said, AI is bigger than internet, and it's going to change a lot of industries. And I also see AI as a, it's going to help us in creating new technologies and making a life easier for everyone.
I want to connect directly with you, our listeners. As Larry highlighted, cyber threats are not a matter of if, but when. It's a crucial reminder for all of us, small business owners. Think about your current cybersecurity measures. Are they sufficient? What steps you take today to better prepare for potential cyber challenges? Remember, proactive preparation is your best defense.
So moving on forward, Larry, let's discuss the trust in cloud computing. Cloud computing is it's very, very essential for many small businesses because it brings its own and it also brings its own security concerns. On that note, Larry, can businesses truly trust the cloud with their critical data operations?
Well, the short answer is yes, but they have to make good choices when they're acquiring cloud services. It was some time ago that larger cloud organizations passed the ability of even the largest organizations to secure data. All right, when you're talking about, I mentioned Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, these large specialized organizations that do this for a living, the amount of security that they put into those processes is not something a 10-person office can compete with trying to put up a firewall. Okay, so the short answer is without question, if we make good choices in what services we apply for and where we put our data and have a good understanding of that, there's no question that that's going to be more secure than what we could do ourselves. Just watch what the largest organizations in the world are doing. They're moving their data to the cloud. Now, that happens in a very controlled and a very careful way for larger organizations. Hopefully, they have the resources to do that. What's the smaller organization to do? Again, trust a professional who does this for a living. And they know the questions to ask of the cloud provider you're looking at. Are they SOC 2 compliant? Do they have ISO 27001 process? What level of organization are you buying into? And again, if it's free, I might be a little bit suspicious, because free and good security often don't go hand in hand. This is an area to make a modest investment in the protection of your business, because the worst case scenario is to have an event. I've done a lot of public speaking over the years on small business cybersecurity and large business. And one of the things I try to communicate to the audience is that this is an event that it doesn't feel threatening in the moment today, because it is a kind of a random event almost. It's not something that happens all the time to a business. It's not something you see that you can feel and understand the impact of it. But I've been through it with organizations, fortunately never an NPC client, but I've been through it with organizations who have had a breach. Look what's happened to London Drugs in Western Canada right now. That has been a nightmare for that organization. Absolutely no question. A $25 million ransom demand that the CEO himself came out and said, not only are we unable to pay it, we're unwilling to pay it. I do not believe we should be paying ransoms, by the way. That just drives those engines of threat even more. But to see the impact on a small business and how devastating that can be, the most important thing we can do is make that little bit of investment. And fortunate, as I keep saying, it's become modest to make sure we're properly protected by working with professionals who understand the landscape.
Right. And that's really shed light on how critical it is to choose the right partners and services for our cloud computing.
Before we move on, let's consider Larry's insights about cloud computing. Many of you use cloud services on daily basis, but how often do you check if your provider meets the highest security standards? Take this moment to think about the critical data you have stored in the cloud. Are there steps you could take to enhance its security? Engaging with your provider about the security policies could be a beneficial next step for your business.
Moving on, let's discuss about NPC's innovative solutions. Like, NPC is known for its innovative approach to manage security services. Could you tell us more about how NPC's solutions specifically cater to the needs of small businesses?
Well, we're actually kind of at the top end of managed services and how those operate. So what we do is we provide a computer, 13 different models on the HP platform. We use an enterprise class computer. It's secured, managed, monitored. It's all provided as a service, and every aspect of it. It even comes with levels of protection that you'd normally only find in an enterprise, because at our scale, we've been able to go out and acquire those high-level enterprise tools and put them on one computer and send it to one customer one time, and they have the advantage of all that. That's kind of a next level beyond typical managed services. Managed services are a very good service for many companies. They own their own computers. A managed service provider comes in and provides a level of security and level of support that works for them. We take it up a level by having a piece of hardware that's been penetration tested. We know that the image on it is very secure. It's not like it's just any computer we're trying to apply our security to. So there's many advantages in that modeling, and I think it distinguishes us as kind of a leader going up into those higher level as a service modelings.
So, as a founder of this brand, Larry, you already know there are different, as you said in our starting of the conversation, there are different brands in the market as well. What differentiate NPC from other service providers in this industry?
We can service clients from 1 to 1,000. Okay. We can service clients who already have a local IT provider, some in-house IT service, and our product can be brought in as a complement to that. Just as I said earlier, it's almost like you bought a router and you unbox it, you start to put it to work, it takes some configuration. Our product doesn't require the configuration. When our product comes out of the box, the user's name is already on the screen. It's already prepared for security. The first backup has already been run. But I think what distinguishes us is our capability to work with partners, to work with the industry, to bring this next level of secure managed computers to their customer bases. It also, I think, the level of security that we achieve on our technology is very, very good.
Right. Larry, I also see like NPC offers CE accredited educational webinars on safe computing for small businesses at no charge. Can you elaborate on this?
Oh, sure. We had done the occasional webinar in the past, but of course, when the pandemic hit and we had to find new ways of reaching out to, new prospect opportunities and to help our current client base, we got into the webinars like a lot of companies did. We completed over 150 of them, so there's quite a bit of experience under the belt in doing them. And we found at a point that we were really just educating. We weren't pitching our product. We were talking about specific things like, how to protect yourself from ransomware or business email compromise attacks. Those are probably the two biggest attacks that small business have to worry about. Your work from home strategy as your staff went home. We have a webinar on how to make sure that they're working at home in a way that isn't bringing risk to your organization. We did one recently, which was the 3 cases webinar, where we just talked about 3 cases of attack that we saw and how that can be dealt with and what you can do to prevent that type of attack. And as we saw how much education it was, we decided, well, we should accredit these. So many professionals are taking advantage of it. They're on our website at npcdataguard.com. And get on our mail list because we're doing new ones about every quarter now. We were doing them every month, but I was getting webinared out because I present, and Darren Marr, our Director of Client Solutions, presents with me. We have a lot of fun doing it, but when you're doing it every month for a couple of years, yourself, you're a professional doing podcasts. It can be a lot to prepare a full hour of new education. So we've got them to every quarter now. I think they're a real benefit to a small business. They're not just good for folks looking for CE credit, but you can use them as a tool in your own organization as training. I know of one company, and every time we do a webinar, a couple of the key people watch the webinar, kind of qualify it for their company, and then they have a webinar afternoon where their entire staff is watching our webinar and learning, the protection techniques, when not to click, what to watch for, that kind of thing.
Thank you so much for providing the value through your webinars to other small business owners. Like, what is your practical, key piece of advice to small business owners when it comes to cybersecurity?
Well, you're doing it here. You got to raise awareness in your own organizations. Unfortunately, and I mentioned it earlier, cybersecurity has kind of pushed itself to the top of the agenda for business. In the United States, if you're a publicly traded company, you have to have somebody on your board who is cyber security and cyber threat aware and knows that space a little bit. I think that it's changed, in the last 20, 25 years to a place where we don't have an option of just saying, well, maybe I'll look at it later. The biggest thing is awareness right now. And most small business people are entrepreneurs. They're very smart. They're hard driving. They know they have to drive around the rocks. If they don't, they hit the rock, not good. Business going to fail. We're responsible. We're on the bottom line. It stops with us. So I think the biggest message is get aware of the threat and do something about it. Inaction is your enemy. Not doing anything is the problem. Or believing that the action you're taking without assessing it constantly is adequate. That's a mistake too. There's no I told you so's if you've had a data breach. You can point your finger at the local provider or what you did. He was probably asking you for more investment. You may not have been giving it to him. But at the end of the day, there's no looking back and saying, well, I wish I could roll time back and not have that, because that was the worst thing that ever happened to our business. You need that awareness, and good on you, SK, and your organization here for having this as a subject matter and raising the awareness.
Yeah, that's our vision, we want to empower Canadian small and medium enterprises. It was a great pleasure hosting you, Larry. Thank you so much for sharing your practical advice with our audience, the small business owners. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Larry's expertise in cybersecurity is vital for any business in today's digital age. A special thank you to our partners who make this podcast possible: RBC, UPS, Constant Contact, and IHG, our exclusive hospitality partner. A big thank you to all our listeners for tuning in today. Don't forget to visit CanadianSME.ca to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine for more insights like those we discuss here today. Until next time, keep your data safe and your systems secure.